Eagles Entertainment.
Eagle Eye in the Sky is fueled by Gatorade, the official sports drink of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Anything that moves, I don't care who it is. Let's go. Give me everything you got. Play fast, play hard. Let's beat these boys tonight in their house. It's party time. It's party time. Hey, here we go. Touchdown!
You're listening to the Eagle Eye in the Sky podcast. Now here's your host, Fran Duffy.
That's right of the week, and it's a scrimmage day as the Eagle Eye in the Sky podcast, fueled by Gatorade, continues. I'm Fran Duffy, and as always, I think we've got a great show for you here on episode number 266. At the top of this week's show, we've got Chalk Talk, where I chat with Chris McPherson about what we saw today, Sunday, from Lincoln Financial Field. The Eagles took the field for their last scrimmage, live tackling to the ground, I believe, of training camp, as the Eagles prepare for the start of the 2020 regular season. Now less than a week from final cuts, which are due next Saturday at 4 p.m. So only a few days away. This was a last real-ditch effort for some of these players to make their case for making this 53-man roster or for winning starting jobs or key backup roles on this team, both on offense, defense, and on special teams. So a big day down at Lincoln Financial Field. We're going to talk about it. It's time now for our Chalk Talk.
Let's get down to business. It's time for Chalk Talk.
All right, well, back to talk about this scrimmage that we had at Lincoln Financial Field today on Sunday. Chris McPherson, C-Mac, a lot of action we were able to take in. As I mentioned earlier, the last live scrimmage that the Eagles have here this training camp. But before we get into some of the practice notes, just a couple little things here. Quick reminder, everybody, if you haven't already, make sure you go leave a rating, leave a comment. If you leave a question, I'll answer it here. I mentioned it, I believe, yesterday on the show that we are expanding the Eagle Eye in the Sky podcast to at least twice a week. So now this is the time. If you're happy about that, go let me know. Go ask a question, and we will make sure we hit on it. Go leave a rating on our Apple Podcast page, on our Stitcher page, and we will hit on it here on a future show. Now, before we get to practice, C-Mac, Eagles chairman and CEO Jeffrey Lurie spoke with the media for almost just under an hour late Sunday afternoon. Just finished, actually, right before we started recording. I just wanted to come to you for some big topics, big takeaways from Mr. Lurie speaking.
Yeah, a lot to go through here, and I kind of highlighted some key items. I'm going to kind of go in chronological order from how he addressed it since he just spoke a few moments ago. But typically he speaks at the owners' meeting every year, but because that was virtual, there were no reporters in attendance. They didn't have the usual state of the team address. So social justice was a huge topic. I said this the other day with Carson Wentz, and I will repeat this with Jeffrey Lurie. The fact that he called George Floyd's death a murder, the fact that he was murdered, I think is very, very important, very, very telling, because there's many different ways to frame it. The fact that he said that, I think, speaks volumes coming from someone in his power as a chairman and CEO of an NFL team. With COVID, he said that it's heartbreaking. He said these are needless deaths. And he said that as a country, we are an embarrassment. To only have, I believe he cited 4% of the world's population, but nearly a quarter of the COVID deaths called it an embarrassment. Very, very strong words.
He's not wrong.
No, not wrong, but very, very strong words. He was not holding anything back. No. Okay, I think it's a big thing with Jeffrey here was that he was very forthcoming. He was very honest. I think he's at the point in his career, in his tenure, over 25 years of being in charge of the Eagles franchise, that he's like, look, I've seen a lot. I've experienced a lot. He has a lot of wisdom to offer, and he is one of, I think, the more forthright, progressive owners. I won't just say in the NFL, but all of sports. So carrying on here, talked about the voting, November 3rd, Election Day, said that he has offered Lincoln Financial Field as a voting site. Whether that happens, because I know the NBA has had talks of making all their stadiums polling sites. So we'll wait and see if that comes through. But the fact that he's offered that as a place for people to cast ballots. He also said the team's offices will be closed and encourage all employees and staff to not just vote but be involved as volunteers where help is needed, and just stressed on multiple occasions during his address that voting has ramifications, and that he even admits that he probably didn't realize the true ramifications over the years. When it comes to social justice, great to have a lot of discussions, great to have a lot of talks, but, quote, action is most important. Going back to COVID, I know I'm going to bounce around here, just the way the questions were asked. When it comes to COVID and the season, he's optimistic about the 2020 regular season, which kicks off for the Eagles 2 weeks from today. Optimistic about the season, but, of course, the virus will be the one that will ultimately dictate that. When it comes to the players taking action, when it comes to social justice, was actually asked point blank, what if the Eagles players want to do something and go on strike, sort of like how the NBA players have? And Jeffrey actually said that he's supportive in whatever the players want to do, and that if we have to sacrifice, we will have to sacrifice. I thought, which was, again, very, very strong. First time we got to hear from Jeffrey about Deshaun Jackson's disgusting and appalling, and these are the words from Jeffrey Lurie, social media comments invoking a fake quote from Adolf Hitler, anti-Semitic views. Just said it was disgusting and appalling, and he feels that Deshaun has understood the ramifications of his actions. And again, it's a continual learning effort. It's day to day. It's not something that just because they've made amends and it's moved on, they've forgotten about it. It's something that Deshaun has to work on each and every day. Was asked about the fact that the Eagles will not have fans in the stands to start the season. First home game for the Eagles, September 20th. Jeffrey said that he's hopeful and that they're working through a number of scenarios, including testing, to possibly have fans, possibly in October. So he is still optimistic that even though at the start of the season there will be no fans for the Eagles, that they will be able to have them at some point. And Don Smolenski said that a couple of days ago on the Eagles Insider podcast with Dave Spadaro, which certainly is worth a listen in for more details about this whole negotiation process and how the Eagles have been working with local and state officials to try to get fans in the building, because they understand that the fans are the backbone of the Eagles and the NFL. So that's really it. I think those were the big things. He was asked a couple of football things, mainly about Doug Pearson and the coaching staff, and just said that Doug is humble and understands when he needs to improve. And, he advises, he meets with Doug every week, but is comfortable enough and trusts Doug to kind of step back and say he's got to be able to do his job. But said that you really need to have the best chance of winning a Super Bowl is having a top 5 offense, and that the Eagles have not been happy with the offensive production over the last couple of years. And that's why he's glad to see that the changes were made this offseason. So wide-ranging interview, went in a lot of different directions, but just very open, very forthright, very honest, very introspective, even closed with some quotes that he reads from Martin Luther King, from Gandhi, from Chadwick Boseman playing the role of the Black Panther. Cited him a couple times, offered his well wishes for Coach Ron Rivera in Washington. But just, I don't know if there are many owners throughout all of sports who are going to be as just honest as Jeffrey was on the conversation with reporters today. Like you said, Fran lasted close to an hour. So you only get to hear from him. Sometimes it's once a year. So really, really good stuff from Jeffrey Lurie today.
No question. And as you mentioned, a lot covered in a lot of ground. So if you didn't already listen to it, make sure you go find that on PhiladelphiaEagles.com, the Eagles mobile app. That's on all the Eagles social media pages as well. You can go and find that on demand. So make sure you go check out that entire press conference with Jeffrey Lurie. All right. So C-Mac, let's get to what happened on the field today at Lincoln Financial Field. As I mentioned, scrimmage, they went full tackle to the ground in select periods. Basically, it was scrimmage format. They did something similar to this about a week and a half ago where, they basically started with a kickoff and the first team offense went up against the first team defense. And basically they said, okay, go score. And if you were able to score, great. If you turn the ball over, great for the defense. If you have to punt, then you punt, and now the backups come out. So basically they rolled that out. The tackle periods basically were whenever the 2s and the 3s were out there. The starters did not tackle to the ground, but the backups did tackle to the ground. After the scrimmage ended, they did have a couple of select periods as well where there was some live tackling. So, there definitely plenty of hitting down on the field today. Let's go to you for the, as we have, really over the last week and a half, for all of the practice participation updates, position by position. Obviously, a big one right off the jump.
Yeah, a couple of big ones here. So, quarterback Carson Wentz was watching. I watched practice from the press box today. And we were waiting for Carson to come out onto the field. And when he did, while players were stretching, he had a long sleeve green Eagles midnight green T-shirt on, was wearing a mask, was obvious he was not going to be participating in practice. He did throw on the red practice jersey eventually, but with everyone in pads, it was obvious he wasn't practicing today. So the reason why, there was some wondering, was it just a maintenance day? We get to see Nate Sudfeld and Jalen Hurts run the offenses. But in fact, Carson Wentz has a lower body injury. He is day-to-day. Several reports from the media deem that the team does not consider it serious. So it's going to be something to monitor here. Again, 2 weeks out from the regular season opener. Running back position, Miles Sanders, the one who's sidelined, still not practicing with the lower body injury. Let's get into wide receiver, Fran. Okay, I know that he was out there for the start of practice, but Jalen Reagor, suffered an injury when he was going up against Avonte Maddox. Ball was thrown in the direction. Both went for the ball. The ball was tipped by Maddox. Will Parks came up with the interception. But you saw Reagor come to the sideline holding his arm, goes off to the sidelines, eventually leaves the field to head to the medical area, inside the concourse of the stadium. And there have been several reports about it, but this is going to be, seems like it's an upper body injury that the team is going to have to monitor, and brings into question, if he is not going to be ready for the start of the regular season, where do the Eagles go, just because of the fact that he has been so good so early here in training camp, and that he's been working with the first team offense, that you figure, okay, he was going to get a chance to potentially be out there, especially if Alshon Jeffrey is not ready for the start of the regular season, because he has not practiced to this point, Fran.
Yeah, and I would say, when it comes to Reagor, since J.J. Arcega-Whiteside had come back into the starting lineup, he hadn't been getting as many of the first team reps. Was still getting rotated in and was working with the ones. But it seemed like whenever, start of a drill, the 3 receivers were Deshaun, J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, and Greg Ward in the slot. Reagor working in at all 3 positions, really. But no, and it's certainly, if he's not able to go for week 1, that is a loss for the offense. It's unfortunate for the fans as well, because he's had a good camp. He's looked the part. Everything the Eagles were hoping for, through 2.5 weeks on the field, he has matched that. So, hoping that he can come back sooner rather than later. I wasn't sure when the injury happened, if it happened at the catch point with Avonte, or if it came as he was trying to tackle Will Parks. Either way, he goes down with the injury, and we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, so Quez Watkins has also been sidelined. He's day-to-day with an upper body injury. Dallas Goedert, the team did not give a reason why he did not practice today. We know that he had been dealing with an upper body injury, but had been practicing and did have a maintenance day on Thursday, so don't know what that's exactly related to. Offensive line, your 2 starters at tackle, Lane Johnson still sidelined. Andre Dillard, obviously, he's not been placed on injury reserve, but he's done for the 2020 season, but he's watching practice from the sidelines. And then the defensive line, Jannard Avery, Vinny Curry, Derek Barnett, Javon Hargrave, pretty much the main guys who have been sidelined, throughout camp. One note on Reagor, I just want to add this here. He did tweet, "Be back soon." So, hopefully it's not anything long-term, but still, like you said, was looking very strong in camp. Just looks the part. Looks like he belongs. Not, the lights weren't too bright for him. Fans are getting excited about him out there. Carson said all these great things about him, really trying to bring him along. So hopefully it's just a minor setback, and he'll be able to be back with the team soon.
So really quickly, no Carson Wentz. People were interested. Okay, what does that mean for the quarterback rotation during the scrimmage? It seemed like Nate Sudfeld and Jalen Hurts really split it down the middle in terms of who got reps with ones and twos. They really went back and forth there. As far as the offensive line, Matt Pryor once again at left tackle, Jason Peters still at right guard, Jordan Mailata working with the first team at right tackle. So that was really the big thing there. Let's jump into it, T-Mac. I'll start first drills. Where offense and defensive line did some one-on-ones, and the rest of the team did 7-on-7. You watched the 7-on-7. I watched the O-line, D-line one-on-ones. The group started with like some run game one-on-ones where the offensive line really got to kind of fly off the ball at the defense. It's usually the other way around during pass pro drills. But real quick, just kind of some big takeaways from the pass rush portion of the drill. Brandon Graham got a quick win against Jordan Mailata. Fletcher Cox did the same thing to Nate Herbig. You would expect that. The offense's first real win came with Jason Kelsey. He was able to stop Hassan Ridgeway on a bull rush. Jordan Mailata did bounce back. A couple nice reps in the second half of this drill, namely one against Sharif Miller on his last rep. Malik Jackson showed off that power that he's got. Really nice bull rush against Isaac Seumalo. Seumalo and him have battled really well during these one-on-one drills over the last few weeks. He tried to stop the bull rush, but Malik ended up getting the W. Those guys really have fought really hard every day when they've had one-on-ones here in camp. Matt Pryor and Josh Sweat had a nice rep, nice little stalemate. I don't know if I could give either one the W there, but it was a nice rep in the one-on-ones. Jack Driscoll, I thought he had a couple nice reps. Was able to stop Sharif Miller. Had one against Brandon Graham as well, where I would say Graham probably got the W, but it was just a nice competitive rep from Jack Driscoll, which was really good to see. Those are my big takeaways there from O-line, D-line. C-Mac.
I think one thing, going back to what Jeffrey said, one note that I was bringing up, and it makes sense here, is when it comes to the pandemic, Jeffrey said he wants the team to embrace the ramifications. He doesn't want to be, afraid of the chaos that could ensue during the course of the season. If the virus is that a little bit in camp, just with the way that the Eagles are developing these rookies, these young guys who haven't had a ton of game experience, guys like Jack Driscoll, Doug Pearson, talked about Mailata and Pryor and getting them ready for the regular season, that they need these quality reps. And I'll add some of these young defensive guys. Josh Sweat we'll talk a lot about him, had an outstanding practice today. Sharif Miller, I think, has made some big strides here. You're going to need to lean on some of these younger guys throughout the course of the season, not just the bout of attrition from injuries, which will certainly happen, but possibly at some point in time with the virus as well. So it's great to see these young guys getting to development, getting to go up against guys like Brandon Graham, who's been in the league since 2010. Really, really important for these guys to develop. So just want to touch on that before I'll just go through the 7-on-7 real quick here.
Yep.
Rager, again, talking about having a great camp, had a nice fade touchdown from Jalen Hurts, 25-yard touchdown down the left side, beat Avonte Maddox in coverage. Beautiful touch. Great job there by Rager. We're sad to see that. The other rookie receiver here, talk about him time and time again. And, when I first got to see the practice up close, he was injured, had an illness, was not on the field as much, didn't get to see a ton. John Hightower, I thought, had an outstanding practice today. Caught a slant for a touchdown from Jalen Hurts. Broke free on a scramble drill with Nate Sudfeld at quarterback. Nate Sudfeld, I thought, could have pulled the trigger a little sooner. Rasul Douglas came in, broke up the pass, but I thought the touchdown was there. Also won an earlier rep on a comeback route. Duke Riley had a nice pass breakup on a pass intended from Jalen Hurts for a tight end. Didn't catch if it was Togiai or Caleb Wilson. But Duke Riley had a nice pass breakup there. Greg Ward beat Rasul Douglas for a 5-yard touchdown. Sidney Jones did a nice job on a fade route to Deshaun Jackson in the back right corner of the end zone on a pass from Nate Sudfeld. We've talked about Sudfeld with his touch. So encouraging Sidney trying to push here. And then the final play of the drill was a touchdown pass from Jalen Hurts to Mike Warren in the flat. So overall, I thought Jalen Hurts had a strong drill here, but John Hightower really flashed, and we'll talk about him later on here as we go through the scrimmage practice.
Yeah, let's just jump right in. Some good notes there from the 7-on-7. By the way, make sure you go check out CMAC and I's full practice notes, which you can go find. You can go read that right around the time that this podcast gets posted, maybe a little bit later. But you go find that on PhiladelphiaEagles.com or the Eagles mobile app. All right, so they get into the scrimmage format. As I mentioned, starts with a kickoff. First team offense versus the first team defense. Nate Sudfeld under center with the starters, and they go 3 and out. Josh Sweat, nice tackle in the run game on the very first play. It was a Boston Scott run to the right side. Sudfeld then checks down to Boston Scott on second down. Third down, incompletion to Greg Ward. Offense forced to punt. So second drive, 2s versus 2s. Jalen Hurts comes out from his own 27-yard line. They go 3 and out. He throws a wide receiver screen on first and long. There was a false start in there on the very first play from Prince Tega-Wanogo, so that kind of set them behind the 8 ball from the jump. First and 15, it was the short screen. Then it was a check down to J.J. Arthega-Whiteside. Then he does take off, Jalen Hurts, for a nice scramble, but he stopped short. So offense, again, forced to punt. So first 2 drives, defense, really tough sledding for the offense here to start things off. Third drive, though, things start to pick up a little bit. So highlight play on first down. This was down in the red zone. The opposing 15-yard line is where they started this one. So they wanted to get some live red zone work in. Nate Sudfeld actually drops the snap right away, but picks it up quickly, hands it off to Boston Scott, and he's able to spin off contact from Nate Gary and runs the daylight down the right sideline. Really nice job from Boston Scott on that play. And on the very next play, Nate Sudfeld drops back and hits Deshaun Jackson for a touchdown corner route. Deshaun was lined up close to the formation, was wide open along the sideline. Really nice ball, nice touch, good placement from Nate Sudfeld on that one. After an incompletion to J.J. Arthega-Whiteside on the next play, Josh Sweat able to get home. He beats Matt Pryor for a sack. 3 plays later, Josh Sweat again gets home for another sack to end the drill. So first two team periods for that first team defense, you got a nice tackle in the run game from Josh Sweat, and you had a couple of sacks as well. Again, I think looking at Josh Sweat, this is a guy that I'm really excited to see. What is he going to look like in year 3? We saw him make that jump into a solid role player last year after being, basically a redshirt year as a rookie. Really excited for what he can look like here in year 3.
Yeah, I think it's really – we talked about Sweat, I think, on the podcast a bunch yesterday. He just looks healthier. The athleticism is top-notch. I haven't really watched a lot of the O-line, D-line 101, so I can't speak to you. You're more well-versed in this, whether you see more development in his pass rush arsenal, so to speak. But his athleticism was always the calling card. It was a question of could he be healthy? Had the redshirt first year, was a solid contributor last year, about 300 snaps. I think about four sacks there as the 4th defensive end in the rotation. And I was kind of wondering if the team would look to him to be maybe the 3rd guy in line coming into this season behind Brandon Graham and Derek Barnett. Now they brought back Vinny Curry, who was very, very solid, especially down the stretch for the Eagles. He brings that veteran presence, but I wonder if in time, especially with the way that Sweat's played with Curry's sideline, maybe does Sweat get a bit of an edge, at some point here and get some more of the reps, and you can kind of maximize Curry's output. I don't know. I think that's going to be something to watch. But the thing is, Curry had been the first team with the first team defense up until first he had the illness, then he suffered the lower body injury, again with Derek Barnett sideline. So it's encouraging because you don't have Derek Barnett, you don't have Javon Hargrave, and you're still getting all this production from the defensive line. I think it's good to see. Some people may be questioning on the flip side, what does that mean for the offensive line? Sure. You're trying to get these guys the closest, and I think the atmosphere with the crowd noise, with the being in the stadium, getting used to driving to the stadium and going through the pregame routine, I thought it was just really good for the players, and especially these young guys who don't have a ton of game experience to try to simulate that as best as possible. Something that we didn't touch on, I think, yesterday, you always record something, you do an interview, and you always say, oh, I wish I asked that question. I wish I thought. I think this is important here. We recall Big V and how he struggled when he first was called into action. I remember that game in Washington where Carson Wentz had a couple of his jerseys torn, because he was getting beat by Ryan Kerrigan.
Sure.
And you go through the growing pains, but he eventually became the the Super Bowl winning starting left tackle for this team. And I'm not saying that that's going to happen with Pryor or Mailata, whoever's at left tackle, but I will say that there are going to be some growing pains when you have so many young guys going through the lineup, to say to ourselves, okay, that it's not going to be an end-all be-all, that there's going to be some peaks and valleys, but let's think about the potential that lies ahead. And I think Pryor showed some promise, but again, he did that playing right guard. So it'll be interesting to see if he is your starting week 1 left tackle, or are the Eagles going to try to see what they can do in these reps the next couple of weeks? But there really isn't a lot of time. And this really, I think these are the last couple padded practices coming up, but this is the real last possible game-like, I'm using the air quotes here, game-like situation that you're going to have before that opener against Washington on September 13th.
Yeah, no question. I mean, you want to try and figure out who are the best 5 in all of your different scenarios. So having all these guys that, have worn all these different hats in practice. Matt Pryor's lined up at 3 different spots: left tackle, right guard. Jack Driscoll is lined up at right guard, right tackle. Jordan Mailata, right tackle, left tackle. Nate Herbig is lined up at center and right guard. So, figuring out, okay, if this person misses a game, who are the best 5? If this guy is going to be out for an extended period of time, who are the best 5? Those are the answers they're trying to find right now over the next few days. Let's get to the next drive here. 4th drive of the scrimmage, 2s versus 2s. Jalen Hurts in, starting from his own 35-yard line. A little bit of a sloppy start here on both sides here. First play, interception downfield. It was a deep ball. Craig James picks it off, but it's defensive PI. So the flag gets thrown.
Who called it, though? Who called the flag? Doug called.
The penalty goes down. The penalty goes down. So Doug throws the flag on defensive PI. Now, next play, defense jumps off sides. So again, move the sticks back. Next play, big screen to Corey Clement, comes back on offensive holding. So you see some big plays. You got an interception. We got a long screen, both negated by penalties. A few plays later, though, nice catch from Caleb Wilson, the tight end, over the middle of the field on an over route from Jalen Hurts. Hurts tried to go back to Wilson a couple of plays later. It was incomplete. But one thing I did write down, C-Mac, and I mentioned this a couple times today, Elijah Holyfield stood up in pass protection, did a really nice job taking on a blitzer from the second level. I thought that was really impressive and just good for him, as he's trying to fight to make this 53-man roster. And then after that, the first big play that I've seen from John Hightower today, I know you saw a couple from 7-on-7 earlier. John Hightower down the right sideline, Jalen Hurts, perfectly placed ball, and the corner actually made a nice play on it, was able to get a hand on it, so the ball gets bobbled up in the air. Hightower showing great concentration, brings the ball in, both feet inbounds, great throw, great catch by Hightower for a touchdown. Everybody excited. Then Holyfield finished it off with a physical run on a 2-point conversion as well. But any other takeaways from that drive?
No, I was going to say, you mentioned Caleb Wilson. Again, Jalen Hurts had a touchdown that he missed there in the red zone. Going back to the big gain he did have, it was a 33-yard gain on a 3rd and long situation, 3rd and 11. So certainly if they didn't convert that, they wouldn't be able to keep the drive going. But the touchdown was a thing of beauty. Beautiful touch on the pass by Hurts, and great body control there by Hightower to get it in. And just physical run by Holyfield on the 2-point conversion. He just brings to me what I'm trying to mask this roster. He brings just that physical element that I don't know if the other guys have. It's not that Miles Sanders, Boston Scott, Corey Clement can't be that. It's just a unique way that he runs that I think can add a different dimension to this offense when Howie and Andy Weidel and Doug Pearson are trying to finalize this 53-player roster next weekend. That certainly would be interesting to see what they're going to think of Holyfield and what he can do for this team.
Only a few days away from final cuts, which is crazy.
Yeah.
So to this point, 2 drives each. Jalen Hurts working with the 2s, Nate Sudfeld working with the 1s. For this final drive of the first half, they cut this scrimmage into 2 halves here. They give the ball to Jalen Hurts in a 2-minute drill working with the first team. So they start on the opposite 45-yard line. So starting plus territory, 48 seconds on the clock. And it was great, C-Mac, being at the stadium for this because we got the down and distance up on the scoreboard. We got
tremendous.
The clock. It was
so good.
We got replays. It was a very game-like atmosphere. It was great. So Jalen Hurts, 2-minute drill, short completion to Greg Ward on first down. Then you have the Jalen Reagor injury. So that happened in this 2-minute drill. You mentioned earlier, Avonte Maddox jumps the throw, competes at the catch point, it gets tipped up. Will Parks picks it off, and that is the end of that drive. They roll it back, though. They say, all right, let's reset. Same group out there. So Jalen Hurts, once again, first down. They kind of keep things going here. Short completion to Zach Ertz, then Corey Clement, and then a scramble puts them in field goal range. Jake Elliott hits a 31-yard field goal. So a win for the offense in the 2-minute drill after the interception. So then we had our little halftime. They spent a few minutes on each sideline, just kind of going through. All right, here are some of the things we're going to go through. Very much we always call the third preseason game the dress rehearsal. This is the dress rehearsal for a lot of these guys. This is their first time going through a practice or a game-like atmosphere at Lincoln Financial Field. I was talking with Dave Spinero about this on our stream at the beginning of practice, that these guys didn't know how to get to the locker room. How do you get from the locker room to the field? How do you get back? Like, where do I park? Like, all of that stuff. They're going through those motions for the first time today, and that's why even like halftime, all the benches were out, the fans were out. Like, not the people, but the fans at the benches to pull the guys off. Like, all these things just to make it as game-like as possible.
Yeah, it's funny you say it, because even for us, I'm used to getting to the stadium. I'm used to going a certain way, but because of the COVID protocols, they don't want, everyone being congested in certain areas. So you're like, all right, wait, I got to figure out how to get around the stadium in a different manner. But those are things that, just as a person, you don't want those to be distractions, uncertainties. You want to be locked in and focused on the game plan. You talked about the halftime here. They made it 12 minutes. They made it the length of halftime to try to make the guys have to sit, and get rested and go through everything and to kind of have to ramp up going back, to get ready for that quote unquote second half. They just treat it like a fourth quarter, just so that if we get to the end of the game here, you could have a hurry up situation like we had with the previous quarter. They treat it like a second quarter, so that it was like, okay, if you get to 2 minutes left, let's have some hurry up situations and in this case, get Jake Elliott in position to be able to kick the field goal going into halftime.
And for the coaches as well, we had we saw the coaches were up in the press box, or not in the press box. The coaches were up in the coaches box. So they're going through all their communication for the first time as a staff. So all that stuff getting worked out on Sunday afternoon. All right. So after halftime, we go to another drive again. Ones versus ones. Jalen Hurts working with the first team coming out of halftime. Few plays into this drill. First big play is a nice completion down the left sideline to J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. He kind of shook free from Avonte Maddox, got over the top of him and made a nice play. So almost like a 20, 30-yard catch. I don't know if you have the number on that team, Mac, but it was a nice gain down the left sideline. He was open, got on top. Next throw, Darius Slay steps in front of a pass intended for Deshaun Jackson in the middle of the field. Honestly, bounced right off his hands. Could have been an easy interception in the middle of the field, but it turned into a pass breakup. So Jalen Hurts avoids the bad play there. A couple short completions to Ward and to J.J. Arcega-Whiteside shortly afterwards. Third down, he takes a bad coverage sack that kind of knocks them out of field goal range. So a couple rookie mistakes there from Jalen Hurts once they got into the plus territory on that drive.
27 yards on the game.
I thought it was about 30. Yep.
I knew I had it written down. I'm just trying to go through everything here. So, but definitely Slay should have had that interception. Just I thought I wrote down lazy throw. Okay, that
it was late. Yeah, he was rolling to his left. He threw across the middle of the field. Yeah, it was a tough one.
Yeah. So, but again, the one thing I will say with Jalen, he lets it rip. Okay, yep. He will offer opportunities for his players, and he brings the mobility, into action here. So it was good to see him. I know when he was at the start of training camp, I think the first practice, Fran, you might recall, he was great in the red zone. It was very aggressive throwing the ball, made some plays, and I think that got everyone saying, it's good to see the highs, and it's good to see the lows, and to give him something to work on that's not going to be all smooth sailing for him. So definitely some ups and downs here throughout the day, but good to see him work with both the first. It's funny because they had to score on the scoreboard of team 1, team 2, and you got to the point where
I don't know
Jake Elliott's kicking for both teams, and the quarterbacks are switching teams, like losing track of which team is which team out there. So, but still, again, just it's the constant theme here is development, growing pains, just trying to get that stuff under your belt as quickly as possible.
No question. So next drive, twos versus twos. Nate Sudfeld in at quarterback. Well-designed screenplay gets Elijah Holyfield open underneath for the first down. A couple Sharif Miller tackles for loss in this drill in the run game. So he made some nice plays. Number 51, second-year defensive end out of Penn State, showed up in the run game today. Best play was a 3rd and 8 touchdown throw from Sudfeld to Travis Fulgham, back shoulder throw. Great throw from Nate Sudfeld where he kind of showed off that touch. And to me, as I've said before, to me that's like one of the best traits for Nate Sudfeld is that touch and that placement on those kinds of throws. And he showed that there in the red zone.
You know, it's a shame for Craig James because Craig James was the one who had the interception at the beginning of the team period.
Right, on the piano, the pass
taken away by Doug. And it seemed like he just couldn't bounce back from it. And victimized a couple times for touchdowns throughout the rest of the practice there. So I want to touch on Sharif Miller. Well, I'll touch on first Travis Fulgham. To me, again, I don't know if there's a way he's going to be able to make it from a number standpoint, but just seems to make plays each and every day. You know, love the size he brings. You know, has some NFL experience, some game experience from his time with the Lions. So, you know, hopefully – cross fingers that if he doesn't make the 53, they can find a spot for him on the practice squad because I think he's someone that if they need someone who's game ready at some point during the season, he's someone who could be called upon. But Sharif Miller, this is a guy who you really want to see this second-year development. I think his camp has been better than last year's camp. He never got to get on the field. He was active, I think, for the win against Buffalo, but never got to play, so he doesn't have any NFL snaps under his belt. But when you're looking at as a reserve guy who can play the run, like you said, can get out to the passer a little bit. You know, days like this are very, very good when you're trying to fill out that rotation there at defensive end. That he's someone who, look, he may make the roster and he may still be someone who is not active on game days, but I like the trajectory. I like the development that he's made here over, you know, because he's someone – you lose that critical year 1 to year 2 off season where you're in the building all the time and you're with the wait staff since April and you're able to have the OTAs and really, you know, see that development take flight. And sometimes guys may not be in the right mindset and may not be able to thrive on their own. So from a self-sufficiency standpoint, self-motivated standpoint, I think he's done a good job getting himself in position here to make a run for a roster spot. So very good things here. Once again, I think Sharif Miller stacked a couple of nice practices here in the last week.
Yeah, you mentioned it before, is that he's got the ability to be a 3-down player because he can hold up against the run. He's got that size to be able to do that. And a 3-down backup is a role, you know, that no matter what position you're playing, you could be a specialized player and be able to impact the game in certain ways, but being a 3-down backup is a valuable skill set for, you know, a number of different positions in today's NFL. All right, so next drive, ones versus ones. Nate Sudfeld back working with the starters. They go 3 and out. The highlight of that was a TJ Edwards sack on 3rd down. Twos versus twos on the next drive. They go 4 and out. Nice throw from Hurts on 1st down. He completed a nice pass to Deontay Burnett. Really nice throw along the sideline there by Jalen Hurts. But you get a quick tackle by Rudy Ford at the line of scrimmage on the next play. A couple of incompletions, including a pass breakup from Trevor Williams, the newly signed corner. That forced a punt on 3rd down. Is there anything I missed from those couple drives based on your notes?
The one thing I just want to know here, the Eagles were at the plus 39 and punted, which you will never see.
Yeah, you'll never see that. Yeah. You know, so one of the big situational things that we don't necessarily – we talk about red zone and 3rd down and goal line and short yardage. Plus territory punting is a big situation. That's if you're talking about situational football, it's one of the lost situations that people don't talk about is that's when you're punting from across your 50-yard line, which – you would say, yeah, like Doug Peterson never does that. But if it's 3rd and 19 from the 40, he might punt in that kind of scenario. Yeah. And they did work on a plus territory punt. Nice punt by Cam Johnson. It landed like 1 yard deep in the end zone. It had a nice bounce backwards. So, but otherwise, a nice punt. So on the next drive, ones versus ones, Nate Sudfeld at quarterback with the starters. 3 straight completions, including a beautiful back shoulder throw to Greg Ward on the left sideline. That moved the chains. A couple of plays later, Sudfeld found J.J. Arcega-Whiteside on a jump ball over Avonte Maddox on the left side. Great placement, great catch by Arcega-Whiteside. Came back.
It was negated, though.
I know. Came back on
though.
an offensive holding call, so a penalty brings that one back. Long scramble by Nate Sudfeld actually picked up a nice chunk of the yardage back that they lost on the penalty. So Jake Elliott kicks a short field goal to end the drive.
Yeah, there was one play where he had Greg Ward open, had beat Nicole Roby Coleman, beat just a little too far there. They were at the 33-yard line. It could have been a touchdown, but a little too far. I will give NRC some credit, though. He was right there in coverage. Again, it's not been beat very often here in camp. Greg Ward had a step. So it was a little too far, but still good coverage. I thought Nicole Roby Coleman with those long arms coming in late maybe made it a little bit tougher there for Ward to be able to come up with it.
So I'll go through a couple drives here. The second team rolls back out. Jalen Hurts, a quarterback. He hits Noah Tungiai for a couple of completions over the middle of the field. We get another tackle for loss from Sharif Miller in the run game. So Sharif showing up once again. Michael Warren, I thought, had a nice little highlight on a screen pass. It was 3rd and a mile. The defense in their sticks defense where they lined everybody up, at the first down marker. He's able to push his way for a first down on a short reception. The starters come back out. Nate Sudfeld with the starting quarterback with the ones. The drill ends on a Nate Sudfeld to John Hightower deep post route. Probably a double move. I couldn't really tell because you couldn't see it on the replay board, but with the amount of separation that he got from Avonte Maddox and, in the replay, we did see a pump fake from Nate Sudfeld. So I'm going to assume that there was a double move in there somewhere from John Hightower. Gets open for a touchdown, deep post. I mean, it was a long play, big play for John Hightower.
72-yard touchdown. Hightower caught the ball at the 28-yard line. So great touch again from Sudfeld, but was wide open. He's got the speed. You're seeing the coaching, the improved coaching from Aaron Moorhead. Throw Jason Avant into the mix. Talk about Matt Harper, just getting these rookies ready to play, and just a testament for Aaron Moorhead with no NFL experience, but having to do this in the pandemic, just very, very impressive. I would love at some point if there's we could do some kind of deep dive into how these guys taught, during these virtual sessions. What did they go over? Because the coaches have all said, well, we had more meeting time with them than ever before. So what exactly were they able to do? How was Aaron Moore able to show proper route running fundamentals through these Zoom calls, Microsoft Teams calls? So I think that would be very interesting to note at some point.
Yeah, no question. I am very interested. And the receivers across the board have looked really good. Hightower ran a lot of double moves at Boise State. You know that if you watched our rookie film room series, which you can find on the Eagles YouTube page. My most recent one on Prince Tega Wanogo dropped this week. So make sure you go check out our rookie film rooms presented by Chickies and Pete's over on the Eagles YouTube page. They're also all obviously on PhiladelphiaEagles.com and the Eagles mobile app. So the scrimmage part of this is over. They're doing a couple of situational team periods to kind of wrap practice up. They go down in the red zone. Nate Sudfeld working with the starters, throws a touchdown to Zach Ertz on a corner route. It looked like Avonte Maddox may have fallen down in coverage. We get another Josh Sweat sack. That results in a field goal. So good stuff there from Josh Sweat showing up once again.
Yeah, just a terrific day from Sweat. You just want to see this now carry over. You get the confidence. We heard, Lane Johnson was like, he's due to be an all-pro, and you're just like, all right, you got pump the brakes on a little bit. The guy's not even a starter in the lineup at this point, but you see the traits, you see the ability. Again, if he can be, if Brandon Graham's doing his thing and Derek Barnett comes back, can be there for week one, and everybody's hyped up. DB is having, being in line for a huge year. If Sweat could be that first guy to provide that pass rush punch off the bench, that's all you can ask for. So I think that would be a great step for him after making some good progress from year one to year two.
So the red zone period continues, and you've got the backups in. Jalen Hurts working at quarterback. And this one was all about the run game. Michael Warren, nice, hard, physical run, gets him down to the 1 yard line. I feel like Michael Warren, in these tackling sessions has really shown his value and his physicality, how hard he is to bring down one-on-one, which has been good to see for the undrafted free agent out of Cincinnati. Jalen Hurts on the next play runs one in for a touchdown. So they go for a 2-point conversion play. Afterwards, goal line stop by the defense, and the mountainous nose tackle, Anthony Rush, leading the way on the stop at the goal line. So good stuff from the defense there, but good hard running from Michael Warren. It was good to see Jalen Hurts running for a touchdown as well. C-Mac, we'll wrap this up. You had a backed up session where they start on their own 1 yard line. The offense backed up in the shadows of their own goalpost. The twos versus the twos come out. Nate Sudfeld working with the second team to wrap things up. Nicole Roby-Coleman gets a pass breakup as the offense goes 3 and out. So now the backups stay out there. Now you're getting like the third team unit. Jalen Hurts working with the guys on the bottom end of the depth chart here. Final play of practice. 98-yard pass from Jalen Hurts to Manasseh Bailey from Morgan State over Michael Jaquette downfield. Look, Jaquette was able to get him down at the 1 yard line. He was short of a touchdown. He did get him short.
Yep.
It was not a touchdown, but big play to end practice for Manasseh Bailey.
First, when they started the backed up portion here, Doug is looking up to the control room for the stadium where they control the video boards, and he's waving his arms up. He wanted the noise jacked up for the session, okay? And I think they're trying to, the teams are trying to figure out what the rules are for the crowd noise, for during the season. So it's like they're trying to get used to that because I guess it's your preseason, quote unquote, for
preseason for everybody. It's preseason for everybody.
So I think they're like scrambling, like, all right, how can we turn the music up at the last second? But for Bailey again, just a nice aired out ball from from Hurts there. Beautiful touch on it. It was racing down the field, and you were just hoping we get in the end zone to get that special moment. But a nice way to wrap up practice there with Bailey just coming up short on the touchdown, big play. Yep. And that's the thing is this team is trying to figure out how can they generate explosive plays so that when they are pinned, inside their own 5 yard line, that it's not they got to figure out a 15-play, 95-yard scoring drive to methodically work their way down the field. And again, it's great the variety of players because at some point, look, you didn't have Carson Wentz, you don't have Miles Sanders, you don't have Dallas Goedert, you don't have your starting tackles, you don't have Alshon Jeffrey, you lost your top pick in Jalen Reagor, and you're still able to come up with explosive plays. So that's an encouraging sign for the Eagles as they end practice here. Bailey, it's a tough situation here in the numbers game with how good some of these young receivers have been, but a great highlight for Bailey.
The two standouts, I would say, from the day, Hightower and Sweat, right? Is that fair to say?
Yeah. Sharif Miller, I'd put him up there as well, but I would definitely say John Hightower, especially now in light of Jalen Reagor being injured, and now you throw in Josh Sweat. The Josh Sweat was just awesome, simply awesome today. And again, you're just looking for contributions, from any facet possible. Great to see there as potentially your third, or if he's your fourth defensive end this season.
Yeah, no question. Well, C-Mac, thanks so much for joining us once again here on the Eagle Eye in the Sky podcast, fueled by Gatorade. Eagles are off on Monday. I believe we have access to Tuesday practice. I think
we're not sure. I thought this was it, but
sitting here 48 hours away. We might not. If we do, then we will be back on Tuesday and Wednesday. If not, then this is the last Eagle Eye in the Sky podcast, fueled by Gatorade, until the Week 1 preview with myself and Greg Cosell. So we want to thank you for joining us, and I might thank you again in a couple days. But thank you again for joining us once again for more training camp updates on the Eagle Eye in the Sky podcast, fueled by Gatorade.
Great stuff from Chris. You can follow on Twitter, just like I do, at CMAC Eagles. And while you're at it, I'm at Eagles XOs. That's where I post all the podcasts I'm a part of and all of our X's and O's content that we produce at PhiladelphiaEagles.com. And you know how much I appreciate everybody that promotes this podcast on all forms of social media. That's one way to support the show, but the best way is to go on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, leave us a rating, leave us a comment. Look, I put a call to action for you guys to go and leave reviews, leave ratings. You guys answered the bell. A bunch of new ratings, new reviews popped up on our Apple Podcast page over the last couple of days. So thank you so much for your support. And anybody who hasn't yet, please, now is the time. The season right around the corner. I told you some good news in recent days that our podcasts are going to be expanding here on the Eagle Eye in the Sky podcast. We are not going to be a once weekly show anymore. So really excited to announce that that. We will be coming at you at least twice a week once the football season kicks off here. We're just days away, so really, really excited to keep things going. I wanted to give a shout out today to a couple of people who left a couple of reviews in the last couple of days. A.A. Berg 80 left a 5-star review saying how much he's enjoyed the show, and also Anthony D. Ayers said he's been listening to the show since the very beginning. Also left a question saying that some reporters say Carson Wentz doesn't have great accuracy. And my question is, do you think that that's true? And if so, how could that be fixed for the upcoming season? Well, look, I think when you're looking at what the strengths and weaknesses are of Carson Wentz, you would say, yeah, like at times he will miss some of those easy layup throws or, short, intermediate, in the flat. I think everybody remembers the one overthrow to Miles Sanders in the flat. I believe it was against Seattle early on in that game last year. But here's the thing. I say you have to look at all of these traits, whether you're talking about arm strength, mental processing, poise, pocket movement, certainly accuracy and touch, you to all the different traits for quarterbacks. It's not just good, bad. It's, hey, is he solid? Is it above average? Is it good? Is it great? Is it elite? Is it, and that's where I think when you start talking about the different layers of how you would describe a player's traits. And I think when you're looking at Carson Wentz, certainly not an area where you would say he is great is accuracy. But I think when you look at, he's certainly not bad in terms of there are plenty of other quarterbacks that I would say are far more inaccurate. So when you talk about how do you fix that, a lot of people will say you can't fix accuracy. One of the things, though, that does affect it from time to time is lower body mechanics. And to me, that's why you always hear, you hear Carson talk about it. You hear, his coaches, certainly the media always kind of ask that every single offseason is, well, what did Carson Wentz do with his lower body mechanics this year? And really, that's a big thing with all quarterbacks, and that's why quarterbacks are constantly working on their lower body, on their footwork, how they're delivering the football, their base, everything going on, from the knees down is so important. Steve Young used to say that he'd be able to tell if a pass was complete or not just by looking at his feet as he was able to deliver the football when he watched it back on film. So, lower body absolutely has a lot to do with a quarterback's accuracy and ball placement. And that's why quarterbacks always trying to get better there. So like I said, I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, Carson Wentz, most accurate quarterback in the NFL, but I would not say that he is inaccurate. That's not how I would describe him either. So it's always something in between there. So really, really appreciate A.A. Burke 80, appreciate Anthony D. Ayers as well, and a bunch of you, like I said, that have gone on, left reviews, left questions. We will hit to them all. I tell you guys, you leave a question, we will answer it. Really, really appreciate all of you guys. And thanks to all of you out there for your continued support of this show and all the rest of our podcast offerings on PhiladelphiaEagles.com. All that being said, I think that'll do it. Another show in the books here on the Eagle Eye in the Sky podcast, fueled by Gatorade. For everybody here at the Duffy House, I'm Fran Duffy. We will talk to you on Tuesday.